Hey everybody, it's Peter, and this is the 2025 Suzuki DR-Z, or DR-Z if you're in Canada like I am, 4SM. And yes, I had to look at it because it used to be the 400SM and now it's just the 4SM, and there's a lot of little tweaks in this bike, including fuel injection and various things that allow it to meet emissions standards across the world. But they didn't just tweak it for emissions, they tweaked it overall to update this bike, and that was kind of well overdue. This was a bike that was running very long in the tooth, unchanged for a long time, but it was still a bike that a lot of people really loved, and I think they're going to continue to love it. The question is this a beginner bike, or is this a super fun bike for more experienced riders? We're going to talk about that as we go through this bike in detail. So I'm filming here at McLean Sports. If you want to see more of these bikes, just make sure you leave a like, subscribe to the comment, or subscribe to the channel here. And of course, if you want to help my channel grow, which is what allows me to have so many bikes this year, just do me a favor, pick a few videos that you like, watch them to the end. That's all I ask of you. All right, let's get going with this review. So let's start by putting this bike in a class. Obviously the SM stands for Supermoto, and there are a lot of different types of Supermotos out there in the marketplace. In the past, I would have said this competed a little bit above the entry-level Supermotos, but I think it's firmly moving into that mid-range things. And of course, you can get Supermotos from everything from Kawasaki to Ducati and everything in between, so there really is a range of Supermotos. What is a Supermoto essentially? It is a dual sport bike or dirt bike converted into a street bike. They have race classes with these things. There's all kinds of ways to enjoy these things, but these things are super awesome to have a whole lot of fun on. The entire purpose of this bike is fun. It's not really about practicality. It's not really about, super versatility. It's just about narrow focused fun, and this thing does a really good job. We're going to talk about some of those changes that this bike has for 2025 that allow it to be a little more focused, a little more fun, and probably move it up a class from that just above entry level to solidly in the mid class of the Supermoto category. So let's start by going to the front wheel. So if you've seen my videos before, you know that I love to start with the front wheel because it tells you the manufacturer's intent for this bike. And what you see here is exactly that. First of all, we know again that dirt bike styling, we've got long travel suspension, all that's kind of fun, but you've got 17-inch wheels front and rear. Now a lot of the time, 17-inch wheels on lower displacement bikes, they often go to a 110 width. This is a true 170 width tire. So that's a standard tire that you would have on a lot of sport bikes, pretty much every type of sport bike. And what that means is you have better tire options. Now you don't need to upgrade to better tire options from the start because you have Dunlop's brand new Sport Max Q5A tires, which is a very good tire for this bike. They're not the top of the line Sport Max or top of the line Dunlop tire, and that's because this thing is not going to probably do as well with top of the line tires, simply because top of the line tires have to really be heated up in order to have the top traction. Now this being a 450cc single is not going to be a bike that really crushes heat and gets a lot of power into these because it's not doing a ton of speed. So you want to have that mid-range or upper mid-range tire in order to have something that can really get hot enough at everyday riding speeds, and that's what this bike is going to be good for. So you've got great tires here, upside down forks here. Now a lot of people say, what about the DR-Z, the 650? Why is that less expensive than this? And the reality is that although that engine is bigger, the entire bike is dated compared to this. It has no adjustable suspension like this one. So there's a lot of features that this bike has that sort of move it up into that range, and we're going to talk about them. The other thing, of course, you've got true sport bike style brakes. You don't have these on the dual sport model. It's a different brake on there. So you've got very powerful brakes for the sides. Only a single disc, but again, this is a lightweight bike, not hugely powerful, so that's going to be all you need to have great stopping power. So what do you have up front? Great tires, strong rims with the spokes, which means if you want to jump off some curbs, not a problem. If you want to do some wheelies and land hard, not a problem. And of course, you've got the upside down suspension that is adjustable. All of that is going to make for something that really is a tunable sport bike in the lower displacement class. So as we move to the heart of this bike, I realized I already made a mistake. I've been talking about my Himalayan 450, which I've been talking about a lot, and I said 450 a couple times. This is not a 450cc engine. This is a 398cc. It's a 400cc engine. So a lot of you will know this engine from the previous version, but it really has been tweaked. There's a lot of changes that have gone on in this bike, and I'm going to scroll through some of the information here. The biggest change is the fuel injection and the electronic throttle. Those were done, fuel injection, let's face it, it was done for emissions purposes. It also modernizes it, but it does make this thing available worldwide again, which is something that Suzuki wants to do. And then the electronic throttle does a lot of things for you. It gives it a nice smooth acceleration, but it also gives you riding mode. So those are the key pieces. But the engine itself has been tweaked significantly. There's lots of sort of blow-ups online that can show you all the different parts that are tweaked and changed. Everything from, you've got the lightweight performance valves, you've got the enhanced pistons for smooth power, you've got better airflow for better torque, you've got all kinds of things that have done in this. You also have sort of Suzuki's sort of clutch system where they, you can avoid stalling with that clutch. So there's some electronics in here as well. A lot of pieces and parts make this a really great bike. In more of a performance-oriented thing. This is not an entry-level bike, and that's why it does cost a little bit more. They put some technology into that engine, which is going to be something that does make it more of a high-performance engine, even though it's only a 398cc. So you have to kind of understand what it is. It's a single cylinder, it's a high performance engine, it's been known for its reliability, but it's also something that is not overpowered. It's really a great bike to teach you how to ride. A couple other tweaks, they've changed this frame up here, put aluminum rear, what do they call it? The twin spar chassis is changed, and the aluminum seat rails for strength. So of course aluminum for lightweight and seat rails for strength have been changed up. So a lot of stuff going on, and we talked about the suspension as well. You've got the piggyback shock there, also adjustable. So KYB forks in the front. Suspension is set up for performance. So again, a lot of people thought of this bike as more of an entry-level bike, definitely for 2025, a little bit moving up class, but again, keeping that 498cc, so it's not going to be overpowering, but again, teaches you how to ride really well. Taking a quick look at the rear tire here, just one thing I want to point out here, you do have little foot pegs up top here. They are not rubber mounted. You do have the rubber mount here that can be taken out. Obviously those are carryover from the main pegs are carryover from the dual sport bike, but I want to talk about the rear tire here. Rear tire, and you can see the brake there, you do have the ABS, but the rear tire here, we talked about the front tire being slightly wider than some bikes in the smaller displacement sport bike class. The rear tire is a 140 width, so that's pretty much consistent with most small displacement sport bikes as well. So instead of going wider here, you want to keep that ability to really flick this bike side to side. One of the cool things about a supermoto bike is because you're sitting fairly tall, that side to side movement is kind of exaggerated in your body. So it adds that level of fun. It really feels like you're leaning the bike further because your body is traveling such a far distance from leaning one side to the other side. If you think about the movement of the clock hand, the very end of the clock hand travels a further distance than the halfway down that clock hand. So same thing, when your head is up on an upright seating bike, you're going to really travel. These narrower tires at 140 are going to allow you to have the extra feel of moving side to side, which adds some fun to it. So we talked about that cornering effect for when my head's up here and it goes this way to that way. The distance it's traveling up here is more than if I'm tucked down on a sport bike and down here to here. So this is a taller bike. It's derived from a dual sport bike, but it is also a narrow bike. So I'm about 6 feet tall. It does have a lot of suspension travel, and that means that even at 6 feet tall, I'm just unable to put both heels on the ground at the same time. It does not feel at all intimidating though, because it's a lightweight 340-pound bike, but the weight is low. It does not at all feel intimidating. If I was to pick it up, if I was to drop it down, I could pick it up easily. So it is something that does not feel intimidating, but if you are lower than 6 feet tall or shorter than 6 feet tall, it is something that you're gonna have to just decide that, hey, can I handle something that's a little bit taller? Now, one of the problems with a taller bike, if you're shorter, is you have to lean it over farther if you're in a dip. But because it's so lightweight, you can lean it over far and not really feel like it's that heavy or that hard to handle. General seating position of a supermoto is very good. The seat on this one, a lot of supermoto dual sport bikes can be uncomfortable. They have a good standing seating position. They want to have a lot of movement on the seat, both for off-road and on-road. This is not an off-road bike, but of course it shares the seat with the dual sport bike, which is an off-road bike, and that allows for some movement. When you have that movement that it allows, it does create a firmer seat. I find this seat to be fine. It's not obviously a touring seat, but it's not instantly uncomfortable like a lot of the bikes in the class. So overall seating position, you've got a tall view if you're driving around in town. You can definitely see around you, your head's upright. Again, that allows that fun of the cornering, but it also gives you a very good view around you. The mirrors are relatively low, which I think is done for style, but they are large and they're close to you, so you can easily see behind you. That's not going to be a problem at all. The grips here, you're going to want to wear gloves with them. They're traditional dirt bike style grips, so they've got a little bit more grip to them. That can be a little bit uncomfortable on your hands over time, but of course, wear some gloves like you probably should anyways, and you won't have an issue. The dash here, we're going to show you that right now. It's not super updated as far as a modern TFT display, but it has been updated from the previous version, and it does have some nice features, so we're going to go through that right now. So taking a quick look at the dash here while it's off, you can see the suspension adjustments on both sides. Again, this is a bike that you can tweak and tweak and tweak. Part of the fun of owning any kind of sport bike is the ability to tweak the suspension up and make it, like, tune it for exactly what you want. So you can do that, and you can do that easily. They're easy to reach. Let's turn the dash on here, and we're gonna zoom in and take a look at what we've got here. So, although this is not a TFT display, generally screens are very difficult to film outside, and you can see here clearly, if I can just get it half centered here, that it is extremely clear. This one's got a full tank of fuel. It's 1223 according to that, which I don't think that's the real time. And then you've got your drive modes and your traction control settings, and you can see that there's an ABS on off, which they say off-road. Again, this dash is taken from the dual sport model. The benefit of turning the ABS off on this is it does allow you to kind of back it in, to take those, swing that rear end out. Traditionally, you're doing that on a dirt bike to help you steer, but of course, this is more of a hooligan type bike. You can do that in around town. You are gonna wear some street tires out, and with that extra grip, you're gonna have to get some speed going to overcome that grip, but you can turn that ABS on or off. I love having ABS on any bike for safety. If you don't wanna be sliding tires, you won't, but if you advance in your riding skills and you wanna be sliding that rear tire, you have the ability to turn that on and off. So you've got some stuff in here. You can cycle through the bottom here. I just switched to the battery, 12.1 volts. You can see 4.8 kilometers per liter. It can be set to liters per 100 kilometers as well. That's trip B, 0.8 kilometers on there. Trip A, same thing. So you can cycle through instant fuel efficiency here as well, and then your overall odometer, and back to the battery. So you've got a number of things you can cycle through here, but then when you go to the modes, you can see the Suzuki drive mode selector. So again, this is part of that electronic throttle. You can switch to A, you can switch to B, and you can switch to C. Now there's words for it, but I just view it as A as the most aggressive setting, B is a more balanced setting, and C is a more chill or conservative setting. So I think Suzuki has words for it, but I think I like mine better. And then in the traction control, you've got level 1, you've got traction control off. We'll go back to, you've got a gravel mode. So this is more in line with the dirt bike, that gravel mode that allows that rear ABS to slip a little bit, but not be completely off, or rear wheel to slip a little bit, but not be completely off. Again, you've got pretty grippy tires here, so you're gonna have to be aggressive or have loose surfaces or wet surfaces to really get moving around. But again, you have that traction control setting for gravel on the dirt bike, which allows you to have a looser traction control setting on this bike. So if you're dumping that clutch and you want to have some wheel slip and spinning around, you can do that, but that's the setting there. And then traction control off, back down, 1, 2, and oop, I thought it was more. So we'll just leave it on 1 for now. So there we go. We're gonna go back to the mode. Very easy to control. Let's show you the controls on how we control this right now. So over here on the clutch side controls, you do have a nice slight clutch lever. It's not adjustable, but that's gonna be perfectly fine. There is a little trigger switch right here, which if you push it out is gonna lock your high beams on. If you keep it in that setting, it's just your regular headlight, and you can flash the headlight. We will show you that light because it is a LED light now. They changed up the style on that and the way it functions. And then if you've seen a modern or relatively modern Suzuki, you've seen this control before. They use this on the V-Strom 800, for instance. This is a simple control. Mode brings you to that drive modes, and then you hit mode again, it brings you to traction control, and then this is just the up and down. So when I was cycling through the fuel efficiency numbers and the trip A, trip B, I was just using this. As soon as I hit the mode button, then I use the up and down again to go through the drive modes. Mode button again goes through the traction control mode. So very, very easy to control. This is a really effective control because it's easy to work, it's simple to understand, and the menu system is not too expansive that everything just makes sense when you use it. You do have signal lights here, you have a horn light there, and we're going to show you the controls on the other side because you have something that I think should be on more vehicles. So over here on the throttle side, typical, lightweight throttle. That is, again, that electronic throttle now, so you've got a really precise throttle. But you have Suzuki's kill switch and start switch built into one. Now remember, with Suzuki start switch, you only have to tap the button. You don't have to hold it down. It'll start on its own, which is kind of a cool feature. And then this is the feature that I think more bikes should have, and this one does have it. It has the hazard warning lights. Now the only issue I have with this hazard warning lights is, let's just show you the dash one more time. Will come up. I think Suzuki could have improved this, and they didn't. So let's just turn on my signal lights. We're on the wrong angle here, but if we turn the signal lights on, you see, I don't know if you can see that clearly, but it is a double light. So it is the same signal light for left or right signal and for your hazard warning light. So I would have liked to see a separate light for left and right, and that way you have hazard warning lights. There's no reason they couldn't have fitted in here, especially as you're redesigning the dash. But again, hazard warning lights are going to send the same blinking light as either the left signal or the right signal. And the only difference is the signal is pushed off by the button. So when you see that flashing and you push the off on the signal, it won't turn off your hazard warning lights. And that's just one little thing that can be a slight bit confusing, where if you see both of them flashing on either side, then you know it's hazard lights. If you just see one side, then you know to cancel through the button. Just a minor annoyance if you redesign the dash, but not a big deal. All right, let's talk about who this bike is for. I lied. We can't talk about who this bike is for until we show the headlights. Now, some of you are going to not like this. Some of you are going to be fine with this. This is a very modern headlight. I'm not aimed directly at it, so you can't see that sharp cutoff, but instead of having the traditional style light, you have a carryover part from other Suzukis, which is kind of maybe awkwardly put in that headlight setting. It does give you modern lighting. You also have modern LED signals, but it is something that is going to be a style thing that some people aren't going to love, but it works. It's a modern LED headlight, and I think that's a good thing overall as far as from the rider's seat. But if you're just looking at it, hey, you have to decide if you like that or not. So let's talk about who this bike is for. A lot of people are looking at this bike and looking at the basic spec sheet and saying, hey, this is a beginner bike. And then they look at the price and go, it's not really a beginner bike. And Suzuki, like I said off the top, is positioning this bike a little further up market from a price point of view and frankly from a components point of view. Now, on a 400cc bike, is it worth it for Suzuki to put higher spec components in here from an entry level? You have to decide. It's still only a 400cc bike. It's only going to have so much performance, but it is going to have reliable performance, and it is going to be a difference in performance from some of those entry-level bikes. And that, for a lot of people, is worth buying. Something that's very lightweight, something that is going to teach you to be a better and better and better rider. I do think this is going to be more popular as a secondary bike for people than it will be as a primary bike. I will say that this is going to be substantially more fun than some of those other maybe 300cc bikes out there that are entry level and sort of set up to be entry level. This is going to offer more performance, better performance. It has better components, the adjustable suspension that's better, KYB suspension up front, the piggyback suspension here, all of it being adjustable. It is something that has better tires. It is something that has better engine components and a little bit more displacement than some of those. So I am okay with the price given what Suzuki puts into this. I think that is fair. The question is going to become, is this still going to have the market that it used to have? Supermotors are still growing, but in narrow markets. There's still a market for these bikes, but they are more narrow markets. They're great in urban environments, but because of the lack of versatility, some people move away from them to other types of sport bikes that are more sport touring bikes. It's only got an 8.7 liter fuel tank, does have a lockable cap here, but that's going to contribute to that lighter weight up top, making it fun to ride, but it's not going to be a long touring bike that has, long goes between stops. So is it right for you? You'll have to decide for yourself. Is it something that Suzuki did a good job on making it fun while keeping it up to date and making it a worldwide bike? I do think Suzuki did some good stuff with this, and I'm looking forward to reviewing the dual sport model of this as well, because that's a different conversation. Even though so many of the parts and pieces are shared, it really is a different video talking to a different audience about this bike. So we'll do that one again in the future as well. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. If you made it this far in the video, do me a favor. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button. If you have, don't hit it again. You'll unsubscribe. And of course, hit that like, leave a positive comment, and we'll continue to show you more and more. I want to thank McLean Sports for giving me complete access to their lineup. And we are going to look at every 2025 bike we possibly can this year. So stay tuned to this channel, and we'll talk to you in the next one.